Now, the country remains on lockdown level 1, but the president is urging all South Africans to keep their masks on. I'm joined now by Numolux Group COO, Anton Arendse. Anton, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Your reaction to the president's main decision that the country remains at lockdown level 1.
Good evening to you. Slightly ambivalent, to be said, because on the one hand, it is important that the economy remain open. We've been hard hit over the past 18 months, and our recovery has been incredibly slow. That said, we will only be safe once everyone is vaccinated. There's something to be said about our current state. I believe where we find ourselves was entirely predictable, and it was inevitable. We have found ourselves in a state, in a situation where there's been hoarding of vaccines. There's been limited distribution of vaccines to not only South Africa, but Africa and other developing states. And then, very simply, our belligerence to place all of our eggs in one basket, making use of largely Western vaccines, has occasioned that we find ourselves in the situation where we do right now. That said, we do want to amplify the president's call that we do need to get as many people vaccinated as possible. Thank you.
That is the thing. I know that the conversation around which vaccines we use and how much is available, of course, was a massive talking point before we ever had any of them. Now we have them. We just don't have enough willing people wanting to take them. From your point of view and from your perspective, how do we change that?
Well, in part, I certainly would not say that this is a majority reason. But in part, the issue around making use of the vaccines that the Department of Health has made available to this country has really defined or limited the choice of vaccines that can be used by the citizenry of South Africa. Just by way of example, there are people who, under the advice of their GPs, have indicated that it is not safe to make use of specific vaccines, and their names would not be mentioned, and that people should rather make use of platforms that are more familiar with, more familiar to them. And so it really centers around the issue of access to a broader range of vaccines, and the limit of choice that South Africans have in using other vaccines that are being made available in particularly other developing countries.
Now, Numolux obviously is the partner with Sinovac, which of course is a vaccine that isn't as readily available as the J&J shot and the Pfizer shots have been. But do you think that it helps the narrative and helps our quest to get as many people vaccinated as possible to continue to differentiate and point fingers and fuel this almost this competition between vaccines? Should everybody not just be on the same page in trying to get as many people vaccinated as possible? Because in the end, the goal is the same, to try and ensure that as many of our people are safe, or stay out of hospital and do not die, and that our economy can try and get to a better sense of normally quicker than usual.
I would agree with you more, and please, we need to be careful not to be making remarks that are critical of government, and quite the contrary. We've always largely been in support of government's ventures and government programs. I think the issue here, and I do want to reiterate the point, that it is a matter of choice. Vaccines, there have been vaccines that have been approved by the regulator, and all of those vaccines have not been made available. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that we are going to attain herd immunity by making all of these vaccines available in South Africa, but it certainly would go some way if all of these vaccines are made readily available to all South Africans. So I do wish to reiterate the point that we really are in support of government's national vaccine program. But I think there is something to be said about the state having placed all of their eggs in one or a limited basket.
Do you think enough is being done to get information out there about vaccines, to educate people? I mean, we do this again, talking against the backdrop, of course, of a communication program from government, of course, shrouded in controversy with the digital vibe saga. But let's park that for now. From the scientist's point of view, from companies such as yourselves' point of view, is enough being done to get information out there about vaccines in a way that people will understand it, so that they can make a more educated decision about the need to vaccine?
I think you do have a fair point and fair comment. I think there needs to be differentiation and not just the drive to have people vaccinated. Again, the issue of choice, that where we have the opportunity to make available a range of vaccines, it would go a fair way in getting people to make informed decisions around which vaccine would be most appropriate for their particular situation.
Okay, let's leave it there. Thank you so much. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Numolux Group, Anton Arendse, speaking to me there.